There are three foundational pillars that shape your child's future success and happiness in life. Please stop wasting your energy and feeling anxious about everything else. After these three areas, three critical areas, but three areas actually matter when it comes to raising children. And I'm here in my closet on my ironing board today because I am a high level operation to talk about those three areas. It's bothering me, and I really think that if parents would focus on these three pillars and ignore what really gets on my nerves, all the frauds, fakes, and the fluff that's out there, you could reduce your anxiety and let go of all these things that don't matter. So let's dive in and break these down. The first one, and I have a million notes, I came to this probably around the time my own oldest daughter, who was 36, was maybe 10 years old. It started to come together with me starting childcare, private nanny, in-home childcare around 1981. And then I had my first child of my own in 1990. And as you go through the years with observing moms and dads and families and what the struggles that they have, and of course the worries and the feelings that we all have when we have our first child, especially, what is important? We tend to think everything is important. We tend to worry about every little thing. So the first thing that is the obvious one, most everyone thinks of this, is health. We all think the health of our child. But there are intricacies of health that sometimes we do think of, sometimes we don't. So I was going to use my whiteboard here that's 20 years old from my grown-up children, but I realized that it's wobbly and I'm going to knock it over when I was practicing. So we're going to pretend this is not here. So we'll just use my notes for now. Like I said, I'm not a high-level operation. I'm literally an old nanny, retired, who is just a regular person. So we talk about health. Please, moms and dads, mamas and daddies, when you're thinking about your pipsqueaks, you always think physical health, of course. So we think food, we think sleep, we think they need to get proper exercise, they need to get exposure to social interactions. Sure, that's our first thought. But then we also need to remember that there are deeper things that I would put in that bucket. So I'm going to give just a basic overview of each of my three categories. And then this is going to be a episode series, whatever you want to call this, because each of these categories is so important and each of them have so many parts to them. And each category really does mix with the other one or two quite often. These pillars, I couldn't think of any other way to say it. They're pillars, they're foundations. If you don't lay the foundation, your child will have difficulty. I've seen it happen. So I'm going to put in the health bucket or the health pillar that we might put education, knowledge, because that affects their health. We're trying to grow their brain also. We're trying to grow their mind. That affects their health. All right, so we'll leave health for a second. The second pillar is safety. In my mind, it breaks into three categories: health, second, safety. Now, safety has a lot of offshoots. Physical safety, of course. From the moment we have a baby to the time they're teenagers and grow up, and frankly, even once they're adults, we never stop worrying about their safety. So each of these categories, by the way, as I break them down, as I do these episodes, because I've already written these out, already have them ready, a couple of them, although I'm not thrilled with them, may have to do some edits. We're talking about how each aspect works from birth to infant to toddler to preschooler to school age to teenager to adult, because each part of it and each breakdown, they play out differently. And I've seen this happen. I've taken care of, I cannot get a complete list, but I count at least 40 families and at least 75 to 80 plus children. It's very hard for me to get a tally. I can explain why at some point. So, safety, we have to teach them also how to be safe themselves. They have to learn how to keep themselves safe. That means they acquire a certain amount of knowledge and wisdom. We might say wisdom and understanding. And they have to learn boundaries. They have to, unfortunately, in the world we live in, we have to teach them about predatory situations. They have to learn. In the beginning, we're protecting them from everything, but eventually they have to learn how to protect themselves. We obviously have to teach them now things that we didn't teach them 30 years ago about online safety, etc. And then part of safety has an aspect about protecting their own bodies in the real world, just day-to-day life. And that has a breakdown that is a very interesting deep dive. All right, now the third aspect, the third pillar that, and I'm running through these quickly because I just feel like it's so important for this to get out To all of you young moms and dads and people expecting babies, because I've consulted with so many people expecting a baby or looking for childcare, and they're so nervous about a new baby. But please, if you would just let go of these things that don't matter and focus on the things that do matter, I think this would make so much difference in the lives of all of you young parents. You're all so wonderful and you're doing such a great job. And I just want to see everyone succeed. And since my health tanked in 2021, 2022, I'm not too useful in taking care of children anymore. So I'd like to do something else that can be helpful. So pillar number 3, and probably the most important pillar, spirituality. So health, safety, spirituality. And when I say spirituality, I'm talking about the inner person. We are trying to build qualities in our child. That doesn't necessarily mean religious. It could be, but we are trying to build an inner person, an inner values core, an inner core values, character, morals of whatever is important to you as parents. That's your choice. You get to decide what's valuable to you, what's important to you, what inner qualities you want to have, a conscience. This is when you choose what qualities you want your child to have on the inside and what do you want them to be on the inside. Every person is their own special person. Their inner qualities, their personality, their character. But in an aspect that's part of that, we're also finding out not just their personality, but we want to, I would hope, teach them that we don't murder. I hope that we're teaching them, along with self esteem and self worth, we're also hopefully teaching them caring about others. Treat others the way you want them to treat you, and then that will make your life better. We're teaching them things that will make their life successful. And again, everything under spirituality is that begins from day one, almost all the way through toddler, preschooler, school age. Let's make a million laws and pound it into them. That is what's so wonderful about if you raise children in this relaxed way, but you're keeping in your mind this three pillar approach, 3-prong approach, 3 foundational cornerstone approach, whatever you want to call it. If you keep in mind, hey, these are the 3 things that matter. If it doesn't fall under these 3 categories, let it go. You'll have such a calm household. And your relationship with your partner, your spouse, will be more calm and peaceful. There will be less stress and anxiety. And as I take these apart in the following episodes or whatever we're calling these, you can see that there's so much balance involved. What I see all the time, and it makes me so furious, and I don't say hate, because one thing I always try to avoid when I was a caregiver for little children is to avoid saying I hate. But I'll tell you, I hate these frauds and fakes and experts that I see right now. Also, influencers, may I please hate, because they are such liars, which should also be under spirituality. You better not be a big liar. I hate that quality, characteristic, not a quality. I'm just going to call it that quality because it is. Despise that. But what I see right now, which is what has me so mad as a person with a unique, if you want to say, history, with so much in the trenches experience, with so many, most of my 99% of my experience is newborns, infants, toddlers, preschoolers. And then I hear these so called self proclaimed experts. Yes, they're highly educated quite often. And no, I am not highly educated. I don't have postgraduate degrees in multiple areas. But what I hear when I watch them on podcasts and TED Talks and all these places, and then they give their experience, they don't have, they have almost no experience with babies and children. So don't tell me you know anything until you have spent hours and hours and days and days and days and days and weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months and years and years and years with infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and a fair number of school age, and raise your own children. And now I'm not going to make a big hate speech about these creators or influencers. I don't have a lot of social media. YouTube is the only thing I have. And clearly I'm old. Clearly, this bright light is not helping me. But these, please be warned about all these women, mostly in their 20s, 30s, and maybe some in their 40s, who have 2, 3, 4, maybe they have 6 or 7 kids, and that's their job to be on wherever, YouTube or wherever they are. That is their little job they have going on, to be all telling you about their fabulous life as a mom with these kids. And guess what? Everything they're telling you about is for sale below in their story and in their video and everything. That's a big warning sign. That's a really big warning sign. I just, if someone is trying to sell you something, I would put that's a huge red flag. Now, some of the things that I have seen them recommend or say are great, they are, in my experience, or I'm not familiar with them. So I'm not going to say absolutely they're not good things. Some of the things I have actually laughed out loud because they're so ridiculous, so unnecessary, so stupid, and such an absolute waste of money, space. They're total clutter. They're absolutely the dumbest thing I ever saw. And again, I am not just being like some old lady here. I've done it. And I can tell you some of the stuff has been invented in the last 40 years. Hallelujah. Amen. There have been genius products invented that, oh, when I started taking care of babies, diapers hadn't even been invented yet with re-stickable tabs. We're talking, I'm old school here. So I always get loud when I get excited. Sorry. I'm very sorry. I get excited easily. So some of these things, and I will happily give my recommendations. I do consulting with couples. This, I am not trying to make money. I'm not here to try to make money. I just cannot tolerate seeing all these parents not getting the help they need. I desperately miss taking care of little pipsqueaks. They're so cute. So much fun. But if I can be helpful to any of you moms and dads, it is just a joy for me. It really is. So, yes, some of these things, I know I just ran off on like multiple tangents and I apologize. I can't help myself. My daughters tell me this. These are my favorite. These are my favorite subjects, literally. I can't help myself. So, some of the stuff that these influencer chicks are trying to sell you, some of it's good. I would be very wary. I absolutely adore, even in 2022, maybe 2023, I haven't been retired real long. I was doing overnight nanny for newborns and the genius inventions of the foot oxygen monitor on newborns. I can't think of the name of it. The little wrap. That is genius. Oh, that's wonderful. If only we had had that sooner. Sleep sacks. Oh, there's so many things. Swaddles. Man, I could swaddle a baby with one hand behind my back as tight as you can imagine because we've done it so many times. And now they have the swaddle things does it for you. Lordy, that's amazing. And you don't have to worry about them getting out of it. But so many things. Diaper wipe warmers. Well, didn't even have diaper wipes back in the day. So I could go on all day. So yes, there are certain things, but some of it is just dumb. Total waste. Totally unnecessary. Plus a lot of toys and books and things like I have seen there's some books that are proclaimed as the best, oh, the best, the best. And I can tell you I've been in, oh, I don't know how many houses where those books are sitting on the shelf and nobody ever touches them. Never. Kids are not interested in them. And you try to read them to the kids and they don't want them. On the other hand, I know which books you could read 1,000 times to children and they will never be tired of it. You will wear the covers and the pages off of them anytime. Those are worth your money. The books that are fun for you to read, that you don't feel like you're going to scream because you've read them so long. Good books. Those are the ones you want. The ones that are funny, educational, good for them, and also they love them. Toys that are not just a bunch of garbage that someone said are great for the kids and nobody wants them. They just sit there and they look brand new because nobody ever touches them. Again, running off on tangents like I always am. All right. So anyway, spirituality, health, safety, spirituality. And I'm getting too loud. Sorry. Too loud. Let's just think about from birth to when you send your child out the door, when they're grown up, each category and under each category, multiple bullet points. There are so many things that make sense. So many things that you just incorporate into life. Many of them you're already doing, no doubt. So even if you aren't starting from zero, you're expecting your first baby, even if you already have toddlers, preschoolers, or even children in school, oh, you're not up a creek without a paddle right now. You just incorporate a few things. You just realize that some things need to just go by the wayside. So as I heard my Midwestern accent, sorry, that as we do these breakdowns, 1, 2, 3, health, safety, spirituality, in my little episodes, in my little series, I'm going to get deep in these because under each category, I have seen people insert all these extras that they feel like they have to do, and they just beat themselves up. They cause themselves so much stress, moms and dads. And God love them. I'm not saying it makes sense. We're all trying so hard as parents. We're trying to do our best, and you can choose to do it if you want. I'm just saying, uh, if you want to hear some, if you want to call it wisdom, I would hate to call myself wise, but if you want to say wisdom, if you want to cut some corners, maybe get ahead of some other parents, and you can just be the one who people are like, wow, how did you know that? How did you? Oh, your kids do know that. You don't have to tell them you got it from me. You have to say the one everybody's jealous of. How are you doing that? You don't have to say whatever. You learned it somewhere. Maybe you just came up with it on your own. But on the other hand, every parent has a choice to do whatever they want with their child. And this is why I have so much experience to draw. So when I went into private homes, I live in a city that has a very high level medical institution, and it's very transient. So doctors, scientists, people come for training. They stay for a short period of time, then they go elsewhere to get their permanent positions. So I did one after another, either temporary, short term. I did travel nanny. I did just all types of private in home, some very elite positions for very high level physicians, surgeons, scientists. I work for some attorneys also. So I just was in people's homes, and I did a lot of rollover because of this unique situation, this city being so unusual. I had three long-term families, one quite long-term, but I was always taking on extra also. So starting in 81, the 80s were just a jumble, all sorts of things. In the 90s, I had a long-term permanent, you don't care. Anyway, what I'm saying is I've had the experience then because, by the way, if you hire an in-home child care provider, and this is another topic that should be an episode at some point, you hire someone to come into your house, by God, they better do what you want them to do. You are the employer, unless it's morally or legally wrong. These are your children. You get to choose what they eat, how they eat, when they go to sleep, what you want for bathing and sleeping hours, and when you want them to go outside and play, and how you want everything done, what you want them to wear. You're the parents. And don't forget it, because I see a lot of people think they have to do what some nanny or person tells them to do. You do not. And if you interview someone and they think they do, thank you for your time. See you later. So when I would go into people's homes, I do what they want me to do. That is my job. If I didn't agree with it, tough. These are not my children, and I would expect someone to do what I want with my children. So whether they're looking at me or not, that's my job. So in the midst of that, I gathered a lot of information. So over the years, I would see this method is very successful. This method, not so much. People do this, it's a lot harder. And that's why I have a lot of information about sleep conditioning versus sleep training. I do not advocate sleep conditioning. I do not advocate sleep training, and that's another topic to be explored. You don't need to let your babies cry. You do not. Babies don't need to cry it out. That is a false belief. Very false belief. I pooped up here, sorry. That's just one, that's a more serious example. Other than that, there are a million little things though. I have a lot of silly stories. I would never name names, and they don't matter anyway. I allow people their privacy. I would never talk about people, but a lot of it's just really cute. I've worked for people who want everything done a very specific way. They want children to have specific time for everything and a specific diet and a specific everything. And other people, literally, I've worked for people who did not want the child to go to bed at any specific time. They wanted, and I quote, let her walk around until she drops. And you know what? So what if that's what you want to do? I don't care. It's my job to do what you want. And you know what? After a while, you let a toddler do that a few times. You're going to have, shall we say, fun times the next day when they don't get a proper amount of sleep. But you know what? That's okay. So some people just they want a free situation. They want a free life, free, open situation, whatever. Doesn't matter to me as long as everybody's safe. So health, safety, spirituality, the inner being. So when we deep into that, we're talking we want them to be healthy. I'm not going to let someone put their lives in danger for health. I'm not going to let them put their lives in danger for safety. And for the inner qualities, shall we say, I wouldn't allow, they're not going to punch me in the face. We have to intercept when inner self is colliding, bad inner self situations are colliding with the outside world. Maybe that's the way to say it. So there's a lot there. On the other hand, what I was trying to say, and I know I have gone every direction with this, On the other hand, my advice to all of you worried parents, I've had so many sweet mamas who are just so worried about everything, every little thing. And I say, none of that matters. It doesn't matter. Literally, you don't have to worry about every vegetable they eat today. It is not going to matter. And for their overall life course, you don't have to think they have got to be, I don't know, there are so many things. It's like, well, I gave the example of a family one time. They were the loosest, shall we say, of loose. And I'm not advocating for this, but if this is fine with you, but they didn't have a lot of house rules. They had little kids, and so as far as behavior went, when they were outside of the house, their children had very good manners. They were very polite. They were in someone else's home. They knew how to treat another person's home. But in their own house, they were actually, and I'm not exaggerating, they were actually allowed to draw on the walls, paint on the walls. And I'm talking about little kids like 4, 3 and 5, 3, 4, 5, 6 in there. The parents were artistic themselves, and their feeling was if the child was moved to draw, felt like they were going to do something artistic, they were welcome to do it anywhere in the house. Most of us wouldn't be on board with that. But what you can see what the differentiation is in someone else's house, they knew the qualification. You don't do it in someone else's house. So be it. If you're okay with that in your house and you don't mind, then fine. Who cares? But then what I appreciated was that the children were still being taught what is acceptable with others. What is acceptable in polite society? What is acceptable outside of our house? What we might allow, we still need to know what other people allow. We still have polite manners. We still treat other people maybe differently. We still would be asking or finding out if that was allowed before we would draw or paint on someone's walls. But so you just see so many different types of things. Would it hurt them to grow up in that kind of a home? Not at all. Doesn't matter. Not gonna hurt them. So I have so many silly examples, so many fun examples. So if you're getting yourself tied in knots about every little thing, just say to yourself, does it fall under health, safety, or their inner person? If not, let it go. Who cares? If you don't care, if it doesn't bother you, don't tie yourself up in this. We have to do this. We have to do that. Well, they have to be in 5 sports. Well, they have to do this. Or is that going to actually make your home life worse? I don't know. That's not a question I can answer either. That's you. So this is going to be, I have literally a notebook of notes and there's just such a deep dive into each of those. But after so much exposure to other people's children, other people's family life, and it's very private when you go into someone's home. I don't understand why this is going to be the worst video, and I'm so embarrassed. But I do have some great artwork behind me from lots of children. After exposure in a private home setting, you see everyone's way of doing things. And like I say, I would never name names. I would never say so and so did this or that. But a lot of it's personal preference, and you have your children. You get to do what you want. So please, I already had this channel going, Ask the Granny Nanny. I am Coco, the Granny Nanny, by the way. Kids call me Coco, and my grandkids call me Coco. But I'm revving up again because my health tanked again for a while a few months ago, so I've been lying low. So I have a number of things ready to roll here. So if you like, subscribe, I think that's what I'm supposed to say, and hit a notification if you are interested in seeing these episodes in this series. And then jumping off from that, there's more, because it all gets down to one word. Everything that is off track right now, I just feel like everywhere I look, everything's messed up. And the word that is missing in everybody's lives right now is balance, balance. And again, I'm nobody special, but I think we all struggle with balance. But when you're raising children, it's so much more difficult, I feel like. And to see the saying for the forest for the trees, you're right up here. You're like, it's all right here. You have so much going on. There's so much stress and anxiety. And it feels like everything has so much impact and weight on your life, raising children. And this world for sure is going to make you feel that way. So how do we find balance? So there is a way. So as you can see, I'm quite professional and know nothing about what I'm doing, but do we really need a bunch of fancy people telling us a bunch of junk? Frankly, my plea to you would be to unfollow, or whatever the heck it's called, unsubscribe to all the experts. I have serious anger issues with a couple of these female experts. who are on podcasts and TED Talks and have written these books, and they're just all over with these insane theories and ideas. And when I see some of their stuff, I'm frankly, I'm furious. It's not even practical for everyday life. The stuff they say is so stupid. Some of it is okay. I should behave myself. Some of it's all right. But some of it is like, here's what you should do if you're in a store with your child and they say this or do that. It's like, really, that's what you should do? That works. Uh, well, and here's the other thing. We're talking about there is such a wide swing in parenting trends or techniques or theories right now. You've got everything from a completely open idea to this chokehold parenting that is so strict. It's just the child can't even move without any, and everything in between. So again, there's no balance. Children should have fun. Children should be allowed to be children. And if you are doing your job as parents and you're thinking about just these three pillars that make sense and everything that relates under those, like a little, I don't know, like an organization chart or whatever we have for major businesses, right? Everything else can float and it'll make sense to you. It really will. Rather than trying to get in the weeds of every little thing they do. I can tell you how to handle tantrums, sure. But you know what? If you're handling the three foundational aspects, if you've got the foundation in place, it will be so unusual and rare that you would have any sort of a tantrum situation. You can just deal with it. I can tell you how. But I can tell you, if it happens, you will know something is up with your child. They're sick, they're overtired, they're overstimulated, something's going on, and you'll just sweep them up and get out of the store or whatever. It won't be some continuous problem because these three foundational structures, I keep renaming this, but if you have that in place, a child feels solid. They feel taken care of. They feel confident. They can tell that you, as parents, are relaxed, that you have it under control, that you know what you're doing. And I can tell you one of the biggest things with children, if the adults they are with have the demeanor of being in control of the situation, that makes them feel calm. That makes them feel taken care of. That makes them feel secure. That gives them a feeling of what is the word? If you were being watched over in by a security guard of some kind, and you're locked in, you're safe, you're surrounded by. I don't even know exactly how. Well, I do know. I actually have another ready to a video on that, but they don't act out because it's when kids are scared and unsure that they act out, or they are sick, extremely tired, something's gone wrong, something bad has happened to them, they are overstimulated, beyond out of control, something, it's just been one of those days, and they do have underdeveloped nervous systems. So it's going to happen once in a great while, and you do have to give them grace. They're pipsqueaks, they're little munchkins, I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word. They're little darlings, and they're going to have a trouble once in a while. So subscribe, hit notification. I have upcoming the breakdown of the three: health, safety, spirituality, inner self, in parentheses, inner self. Also, what each of those means and what's underneath all of those. Also, I have upcoming, ready to roll in the can, as we used to say. If you are old enough, likely to know this. But here's one for you. Upcoming, should children be kept on a leash or inside a fence? That's coming. Or neither. What do you think of that? Preparing for your baby's arrival, the postpartum warning, the postpartum reality, which is coming because of the current murder trial going on for Lindsay Clancy, who unfortunately took her own three children's lives. And it is being blamed on postpartum psychosis. And while I have never worked for any woman who suffered that, I have worked for a number of women who suffered postpartum depression. And I think there's something to be discussed about the reality of a newborn baby. Bringing home a baby postpartum is no joke. So that is an upcoming video. I'm telling you, hit your subscribe buttons. I know anything. Hit your notification. I don't even know what that does, but I'm telling you. And then the other one that's in the can. Where did it go? I have it. Oh, I lost it. I don't remember. Like this isn't long enough. You want to hear me gloss some more? Oh, it is about tantrums. Ending tantrums in 1 minute, 60 seconds. Do you think it's possible? I'm talking about the full on thing when they've really hit it. Now, I have been called in more than once to address the Super Nanny show. I don't totally agree with her either, but I am kind of picky. Why is my video so dark? I'm not going to edit either, by the way, because I don't know how to do any real editing. So I apologize. It's going to suck. And I don't say suck in front of kids either. So sorry. It's going to be low quality video, low quality audio, likely, and low quality lighting. But if you want it real, you're looking at it real. Childcare since 1981, raising kids since 1990. I have children from age 36 to age 18. I called it. I stretched it out. Oh, so another one ready to roll. Tantrums when I have been called in to help when people have kids a little bit older who are out of control and people have asked for some assistance. So what do you do? It's a tough one, but it can be accomplished. It really can. All right. So if you're not totally sick of me yet, then something's wrong with you. But I'm Coco the Granny Nanny. This is some of the displayed artwork from lovely children and my grandchildren from people I have taken care of. I wish I could display photos of wonderful little darlings that I've taken care of, but I will not display photos because I do feel that is wrong. So, 3 pillars, foundational cornerstones that shape your child's. I can't talk anymore, so definitely should stop. 3 cornerstones that shape your child's future. The absolute necessity to see your child succeed and be happy in adulthood. And frankly, isn't that what we all want? Isn't that really what we're after? That they are happy and settled and content as adults. That's the goal. When we have a baby, we're looking at them and we're in love with them. They're so darn cute. They're so fun. Toddlers are so fun. Preschoolers are so fun. But ultimately, unfortunately, they grow up and leave us. They grow up and we want them to be wonderful human beings who can be happy in their adult life and be successful as adults and I don't mean materially successful inner selves, in their life, in their relationships. So, Coco the Granny Nanny, 4 decades of childcare, 36 years raising children, and in my entire adult life, I have done volunteer service work every week. Very rarely have I missed a week, and I've worked with lots of low-income women and children, but also just regular women and children, and that's just been a wonderful, fun time. So you may think I know nothing and click off, but please, if you're interested, I'd love to help you jump ahead a few steps, skip a few bad choices, or just get a little leg up on some stuff. And wouldn't we all like to just learn from mistakes of others or learn from experience? I do. So I love all of you. I love mamas and daddies. I think it's a hard life right now raising children. So let's do it together. Let's do it. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all soon.